Okay, it says we're live.
All right.
Hey, welcome to a first installment of many, hopefully, of going comics to cosplay. Let me just shut the door real quick because it's open. The dog opened it.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this, Kachum. This is going to be exciting. You know, we've all got some downtime for when it comes to the next Comic Con. Apparently, somebody through the Instagram has already been showing up to some Comic Cons, but uh,
Oh,
I,
seriously,
yeah, I think Big Will was at a Comic Con. But
you did mention that. Yeah,
yeah, I'll be ready for next year. And when we're in the downtime, why not start building a cosplay that we can bring to the next Comic Con we're going to be at?
absolutely. Yeah, and we've been thinking for months, probably even over a year, to do some real cosplay content to our channel. But
Yeah, I
so
know everyone's been trying to push on you. Last year, we were like, "Come on, show us the process of you guys building your cosplays for
right,
Wizard Con or
yeah,
Dragon Con."
Dragon Con. That's it. That's our only real con that we go to because we don't travel to cons, but it's here in town in Atlanta.
Yeah, I remember the first time I found out about it was I was going to my buddy's wedding in Georgia. The same weekend was Florida State versus Georgia Tech in the
Oh
new
yeah,
dome, and our hotel was actually right by Dragon Con, so our Uber driver had to go right past it. And I'm like, "What is going on? How did I not know about this? I would have been so if I didn't have already scheduled things I had to go to with the wedding parties and stuff, I would have been right there at Dragon Con."
yeah. And if you're going past it, I mean, you get stuck in it. If you're not part of it, you're still part of it. It
Yeah,
fills the
because it's a
street.
bunch of different hotels, right?
Yeah, all the hotels just overflow. They're just swelling with people. Everyone's in costume, and oh, the streets are full. It's just amazing. And if you want to see cosplay anywhere at any con, Dragon Con's the place probably to be. I mean, they have specific, very cosplay kind of cons like BlizzCon, which is very gaming related.
Yep.
But Dragon Con just encompasses all of the fandoms. It really is. It's just a bit of everything and a bit of everything for everybody, and you
Right.
can find something to do no matter who you are.
With
If
a
you're
tad bit more cosplay to it.
right, right, and as the day progresses into night, the cosplays get riskier and more bizarre.
Well, that's what happens in that warm weather of the South. You don't have to wear as much.
Oh, and I swear everyone's just sweating. It's I don't think there's been any con here that's been below 80. It's usually up around the high 80s in the day.
I'm used to that in the Keys, man.
Oh, I bet.
Hey, I
Who
like all these people that are popping in our chat here.
who we got?
We got Barbarian popped up. Barbarian Kung Fu, welcome, brother. And
Ooh,
Comic Books NYC, always showing some support for the crew. What's up, buddy? Simon R, how's it going? And of course, Mr. Garrow. Man, I ain't seen him in a while. What's up, buddy?
Mr. G. Mr. G, he wanders around the chats. He's there. John
Right?
was first. John might still be here. He was here a while ago. I think perhaps Rod is on right now. I tried to pick a time that made it seamless with other shows, but these days you can't tell, and just doing it for the fun. We can always rewatch it if you need to.
Oh yeah, and like we said, this is just the intro. Hopefully, when we start doing the builds, that's when the real fun and the chats are gonna start blowing up. You'll see us painting, designing, gluing, all sorts of verbs.
Yeah, actually, I made a bit of a couple of slides just to show some bullet points. I might bring them up in a little bit, but that
Gotta
might
love a good PowerPoint.
give you. It's not like I'm out there trying to teach you guys everything, but just kind of giving you some considerations.
Yeah,
Uh,
man, a nudge in the right direction. Any helpful info? You've been
right,
there, you've done that. You know what works. Some things that are a little bit lightweight that might be more feasible. Things that breathe a little better because, like we were saying, the heat And I remember you talking about how you had to put a little cooling fan in one of your costumes.
No, I wanted to,
Oh,
and
okay, that's what.
each time came, and I just didn't have the time. But I really wanted to, and I know people do. We saw one guy at Dragon Con inside this huge, hulking, I don't know what it was. It was just something from World of Warcraft or something, I think. But he was
Was it
inside.
that like giant Egyptian dog thing? I've seen him around a couple cons.
No, it was more like a tree.
Oh, okay.
A living tree. And he had this little window that he popped open, and we looked inside there, and he had like a drink holder in there. He was in his plain clothes, and he was walking around with this thing attached to him. But he had some fans set up. And a friend of ours did Mr. Freeze, and he perfected over a couple of years the Mr. Freeze helmet.
That's a great look with the dome and the glasses.
Bald head and the glasses, and he had this system, like a circular air system that he'd hooked up, so it never fogged up. Otherwise, he would have been like Mysterio in the end.
Yeah.
Being able to see anything. But he tinkered with that for a long time. And, you know, with this kind of art, you find tips in all corners of the internet and anywhere, just to give you some ideas that just help you with your own build, that people have just been experimenting with for years. They've made mistakes and learned from their mistakes. And I really think that's one of the biggest takeaways from what I want to tell everybody is jump in, dive in the deep end. If you've been scared to start a cosplay, just think of it as Halloween. It's like a huge version of Halloween. You could spend as much time.
And I'm glad that's what you reached out to me, and that's kind of what I needed was a little push. I just talked to you in chats and off-air chats, trying to tell you my ideas of what I wanted to do, and with my CNC machine, that gives us a little bit more room to play with cutting out custom. So that'll be fun, and see what we can tackle with that. I don't know where you actually start. If you wanted to start with our kind of brainstorms and what we were thinking about doing as our cosplays, or did you want to go through your bullet points?
No, let's start off with the concept. I think we had Stay Puff join us since we updated.
Yo, Big Puff, how's it going, buddy?
Mr. G wants to know when Doctor Strange is getting done. Well, you might have to start that, Mr. G.
Yeah.
Get on board. Start making something with us. It'd be
we
cool.
Already know you can slick your hair back, man. So then just get you the little mustache and a cape, and you're good to go.
John has some pieces to his Doctor Strange. He said.
Oh, John. I thought it was Mr. Garrel doing it.
No, he said Mr. Garrel did say that. But I think
okay.
John also loves Doctor Strange.
John did have a shirt and a cape. Yeah.
His wife's working on pieces of it. John, you got to get on something and make some pieces of it. He says he has a necklace. And
the stone, the eye of Morimoto or whatever it was. I forget.
Who said he could do a fat Thor?
Thorbowski.
We could get you set up to make a hammer of some kind. Foo. I wanted to do a Thor hammer, something that lights up. I like things that light.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. John, Mr. G, Stay Puff. Foo.
Yeah, really appreciate the support. And who knows, maybe if you guys are going to start doing a cosplay build of your own, maybe you can hop on in a future episode with us.
Yeah, I thought about that. Bringing some people on that have, that really want to start, that don't know where to start and have some concept ideas, and we can brainstorm with them, or someone that's done cosplay in the past. I know there's quite a few people in the community that have. Jeffrey, I think, has tried some Hulk cosplay, and
well, that's where I was, man. I didn't know where to start. Before talking with you, I had the idea for MegaCon because it was going to be a fun thing, so I thought I would cosplay for one day. I just didn't know where to start. I just did some research on YouTube on how to do it, and I was just going to jump in like you suggested and try to do it on my own. So we got this break off with the cons and the pandemics, and you mentioned this, so it's a good way to get started, get some expertise from you, maybe learn some tips and tricks that I wouldn't necessarily use as a carpenter, that I might have went one way and it might not have worked, and you already know that type of glue or something isn't gonna hold the way we want it to.
Right.
So with that said, my idea was to do a mashup, which is, you know, a lot of people like those. You combine different mediums, different topics, and put them into one. And my mashup was going to be with Mr. Miracle and the Mandalorian Mando helmet from the Mandalorian. So I was going to build a fresh helmet and try to do a nice paint job to look like the Mr. Miracle mask, because I have a nice shirt to go along with it.
Oh, it's like a Mr. Miracle shirt.
Yep, it's a little, it's kind of like those shirts you see JB wear with the Iron Man and stuff, but it's a little bit more detailed.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I felt better. It was full proceeds of the shirt went to help PTSD, because you know about Tom King and Mitch Gerard's. That's where I first saw this shirt, and the shirt kind of just sparked my idea to do the helmet, because this would be my first cosplay, and I was just worried about being able to walk around the cons and still be able, you know, to get around within the tight crowds and not get too hot. So I thought a helmet might be a nice touch. But with this show, who knows? Maybe we'll make some nice accessories to go along with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You start making mistakes, and that really is where you start learning to be better and do things faster and learn new little tips that kind of speed up your process. And, you know, you start eliminating things that don't make sense depending on the build, and you might bring those techniques and materials back for a later build. But ultimately you just jump in, you make mistakes and you learn from them, and you create something. And we found, you know, even if we believe that there are a lot of flaws in what we've made, it still looks cool. And you have people running up to you, knowing your character. You didn't think someone would, but they do. And, you know, you get some good satisfaction and verification of what you've made from the people around you at the cons. And
it's good to hear that, because when I went to my first con was only maybe 2-3 years ago now, maybe 4. But still, I was new. I'm older. I'm in my 30s, and I'm seeing all these characters and impressive builds, or just even like you said, just characters that I recognize, even if they are flawed. And I want to come up to these people and tell them, but you know, it's a little intimidating. So to be a stranger and just walk up to them and be like, "Oh man, I like your character," you know. And so to hear a cosplayer say that most of them enjoy that, you know, it's good.
Oh, yeah.
You know, reassuring that it's okay to convey to them that you appreciate the work that they put into their costumes.
Yeah, and when you start doing this stuff, you kind of get a good idea on what they've done and what time they've put in, and skills into making some of this stuff. You get more of an appreciation on.
And I'm sure you could say more on it, but I'm sure there's also maybe like a cosplay community, kind of like our comic book community.
Yeah. I mean, definitely they're out there. There's tons on Instagram, tons on, you know, I think a lot of them make stuff on Twitch. They show their processes. There's so many amazing cosplayers out there. Then they make YouTube videos, and you can just do some simple searches and ultimately find what you need. It just takes a lot of digging and looking to see, you know, a lot of the tips and tricks that you need to make what's in your head and the ideas you have, bringing them into the costume world.
And I'm sure some of these builds can get expensive. I'm sure there's different ends of the spectrum. You can do a little bit, like maybe I might be doing with a helmet and a couple of accessories, or you could go full out, like I think you might be doing. What did you decide on to do?
So I have a few ideas rattling around, and I always do. But I decided on something because we don't have a time crunch for DragonCon this year. It's something that I can maybe tinker with over a long period of time. One of my favorite characters from comics from when I first started collecting is Dr. Fate, DC. And because I knew you were doing the Mandalorian, and I knew you wanted to start with a helmet, I thought, well, maybe I can start with the helmet of Dr. Fate, and as we move on to more of the armor, and the chest and the arms and even the legs, if we want to go there, I could start with the Dr. Fate helmet.
I think that's a good start and a great character.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love magic. Magic kind of, I've always loved, mythical creatures, and, mythology got me into sci-fi. That's kind of like the progression as a child.
Yeah.
I read a lot of mythological stories.
Say fantasy for me, like The Hobbit and stuff, and then eventually it progresses into, I don't know what starts it there or what, but it's just kind of like the natural progression.
And Star Wars has always been there. Star Wars is kind of like parallel with mythology and magic. And so, I my first 2 of the 5 or 6 first characters I started collecting were Dr. Fate and the Demon. And the Demon is very mythological.
Etrigan, right?
Yeah.
I love him. One of my favorite characters, man. Jack
Kirby. Incredible creation.
I always just thought he looked cool. The first time I actually saw him was in like a cartoon. He was a reoccurring character, but maybe once a year. I forget what the cartoon was, but it was one of those Saturday morning. And when he came in, I'm like, who is this giant behemoth demon? Almost looking slightly cavemanish with his outfit and the cape and stuff. So yeah, it was. I really like that character.
But that some of the characters that you love, when you think about how am I going to cosplay that, it's just
how feasible. How do you put it from paper and from your brain to paper to making it a reality, and making it pragmatic?
You got to, for him, you have to make a mask. You have to make a hulking body. You have to make yourself completely different than what you are normally, and that's a big undertaking. Like Aliens and Predator, I absolutely love those characters, but it's such long, detailed work.
Oh, I love those ones when you see them come out in like the Ripley, the big loader. You'll see them, or a parent and a kid. Like the parent will be the loader, and the kid will be like hanging in a baby strap inside the loader. So like they're controlled as Ripley. That's pretty cool.
So generally, what people do when they first start cosplay, they get a suit like Spider-Man. They'll order something from Zentai. It's a Chinese company that makes spandex suits, and just get the spandex suit of Spider-Man or some other character.
I thought about that, but I don't have my body isn't as flattering to wear one of those spandex suits.
Right. I know. When I first got my Spider-Man suit, I had to lose some pounds. Or just, you stand in a particular way to hide your Spidey dad bod,
Yeah. But me and my buddy were gonna do a cosplay like that, do a Batman and Robin, and just have a big gut and wear like really small shirts so your belly button's showing and stuff, and just be like some old middle-aged fat guys dressed up for cosplay. Who we got? We got someone new up in the chat too. Rock City Comics, welcome, man.
Yeah, but those suits sometimes they're good to use as like an undersuit. If you're wearing armor or something, you either wear like the muscle shirts that you mentioned, or just some kind of base layer that people might use hiking or in the winter.
Kind of like how sports athletes wear like they wear like the runner shorts or like the spandex, just to help prevent, chafing or just things fitting better on you, not getting,
Right.
If you're wearing a bunch of armor, I'm sure it would be a little bit better to have a little protection instead of just having plates of armor on your skin all day.
Oh, totally. And, it does chafe. And sometimes I think people will glue pieces of armor to those shirts. It becomes permanent, but if you're wearing the costume multiple times, then you just have the armor stuck to the shirt, and you just put the shirt on, and have the armor pieces on there. If they're relatively, like if it's not one big piece of armor, if it's just, you know, a
I
shoulder,
got you. Maybe some shoulder pads or some forearms or something.
If the chest is a couple of pec pieces that are individual, they kind of move independent of one another slightly on the shirt, then it makes sense to do that. A lot of people, though, when they make armor, will they'll make it so you can remove it, and so you'll have attachment points under the arm, maybe even on the shoulder.
I'm sure that's good too, because after walking around being sweaty all day, you might have to wash that undershirt.
Right. Yeah, and that is a big when you get on forums and you talk about conventions, because DragonCon has a lot of different forums that people chat about it. One big sticking point is people smell.
Yeah,
and lots of people don't shower. And if you're at a convention and it's a 5-day convention and people are staying in hotels because the convention are 5 hotels joined together, then, you know, people just don't, I don't know why they don't go and shower when the hotel room is right there. But
right. They don't want to miss out on any of the action.
You know, they say be comfortable, drink lots of water, take breaks, and please shower and use deodorant. They're kind of like the big things.
Yep. Personal hygiene's a big one. Well, we got Biggie Shaq walking in here. Welcome, buddy. Talking about doing some cosplay next year. We're going to start doing some builds in the next couple episodes. Hopefully you'll think of something too, man, and bring it down to MegaCon when we all meet up.
MegaCon. Yeah, we considered it. Everyone was considering going to MegaCon, and then COVID just kind of shot everyone in the foot.
Yeah, I'm surprised how much that took off, because I was just trying to blow it up because of all the Florida people. We had our own Florida chat, and then every chat room I was in, I just kept saying, MegaCon, screw Baltimore, we're going to MegaCon, come to Florida, the weather's better. Next thing you know, we had almost 100 people planning on coming to MegaCon, and then everyone had to cancel.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, everyone wanted to go. Wow.
So where do you think we should start when we're doing these builds, Kachung?
Okay. Maybe
are there places like I when I was first looking, there's a bunch of different places you can look. Like for my helmet, they had patterns. I actually downloaded all the pieces. They had a nice pattern for me to cut out.
I mean, that's a great start. When I did my Moon Knight helmet,
yeah, grab it.
I got a pattern from a great cosplayer called Kamui Cosplay, some German. I think she's German. And she has a lot of these cosplayers that, try and make some kind of a living because they're doing it all year round. They can generate an income stream by, selling patents for a couple of bucks. And
really,
yeah, and some of them even create books. And I think her and Evil Ted is another guy who worked in the,
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, so many people are interested in how to do it, and you're already doing it. Why not put it out there, help the community, and maybe, fund your next build?
And a lot of this, I mean, especially those two, Evil Ted, he worked in the film industry and has just, drummed up tens of thousands of followers that watch him build stuff on YouTube. And he has so many tips. But anyway, you can just get like a pattern, and I just use a general pattern for this, and kind of changed it a bit. I put some foam clay on here, and then put some magnets in the nose. So
nice.
I could just snap that and make sure that was in the middle. But yeah, you can modify anything, really. There was a pattern I found for a dome shape. I wanted to create a backpack for my Spider-Man. And I found it was just a simple foam dome, and it was made for the dome portion on the helmet. But I just scaled the pattern up big enough so it became larger, and it was half spherical, half a sphere, I guess, a dome.
More like a bowl.
Like a bowl. I thought about using a bowl, But then I was like, let me just get a pattern, and I made that, and made it round and heat formed it, and then created my Spider-Man backpack out of it.
But, that sounds like a good idea.
So I'm getting all these notifications.
Yeah, you set it up and everyone starts going live, and next thing you know. So what kind of things did you have on your bulletin points, man, that you wanted to go over?
Let's see. That's a good. Let me see here.
No, Rock City, you're cool. Etrigon's one of the best, one of the top dogs from Kirby.
There we go.
I got to tell you, I am enjoying talking and discussing all this, but I really am looking forward to when we start building these things.
Can you see that?
No, I don't see anything yet.
You don't see anything yet?
You hit share screen, and then there's another button like right after that you have to okay it.
Share audio. Wait. Entire application window. I think that's right. Why is that not sharing?
Click share screen, your entire screen at the bottom right. It'll be next to cancel. You hit share. And then it should take over.
Now I'm not able to press the share button. Wow, here we go. This is like troubleshooting live. All right, not seeing it. Wait, cancel that. Share screen.
Thanks, Rocksteady.
Yeah, it's not allowing me to share. I don't know why.
Let's see one thing. I'm not sharing anything
fun,
hang but let's see if
hang on. I think we got something here. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing it now. Whoops. Okay, I'm back. Hey, all right. Yeah, I see your thing.
Can you see that?
Yep. Cosplay Basics.
Here's some basics. I just brainstormed a few things. And I was like, what can I, share with people to just help them?
No, that's perfect, man. I mean, like me as the noob, I really don't know what to bring out, and that's why I'm glad you invited me along for the ride, because I really had no idea where to jump in or where to start.
Yeah, so I mean, you can always go back to the video, check out my pointers here, and
so like you said, the start of the character, we came up with that. You got Dr. Fate, I got Mando mashup. And now our concepts, is that like our material, or is that more like what we're saying we're going to do a helmet?
Yeah, well, so when I talk about concept, I think, so you figured out what character do you want to be, but as you said, you're doing a mashup. That's kind of like some kind of a concept to do with the character. How far do you want to, I mean, that's the next point. How far do you want to go with it? But, your concepts are, sometimes you draw some things, and that's just like your inspiration. Or you see a version of that character in a comic book, and you think, well, I'd like to replicate that, because there's so many different ways that these characters are portrayed, and even just in comics, or in the movies, or whoever you want to be. You just want to kind of write those concepts down, draw them. As you can see here, I included a drawing I did of Delphia's Bleeze.
Yeah.
So there, it's you can see it's half of her chest plate, and we went with Bleeze because she wanted to be Bleeze because of the wings, and she thought
gotta love wings.
A great character, but we got she was assigned Star Sapphire. Bleeze is normally a red lantern, but hey, it's a mashup. We brought in like a what if background story to her, and in the comics she almost becomes a Star Sapphire, but doesn't. there's just too much rage in her. But what if she was a Star Sapphire? So we went with that, and we found some drawings, some concept art online, and we used that as the concept to bring this to life, you know?
Yeah, that was your mashup, so that's cool. Yeah.
Right. So then you think about, you know, how big do you want to go? Do you want to go all out? You want to do the entire piece from head to
Yeah,
toe?
do you want a helmet? Do you want the armor? Do you want the rocket pack? Do you want the whole nine? Gotcha.
Exactly. What your budget is very important.
And I'm sure that'll
That
reflect
adds up.
on your scope. You know, I mean, if your budget isn't that big, maybe you're not going to go huge on your scope, and maybe you might just stick to the helmet instead of doing the whole armor and everything else.
Right.
Sorry, I'm using my build as an example of whatever you're building.
That was the idea, man. Absolutely. I think just starting small is probably the best thing to do. And if you're just starting with a helmet, then you only have a few materials, and you don't have to get too involved. But it's a good starting point, and it'll get you some skills together that you'll need to do other bigger parts of the build if you're going to go further. But generally, you don't have to spend all that much. I mean, it does add up. It does get, you know, when you start searching Amazon for pieces to add to your costume, it can add up, but it doesn't have to be all that terrible of a budget. I have a whining dog in here, if you can hear it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I think he wants to get out. Yeah. And the other considerations I have here, these are just the main big ones, are, you know, how much time do you have?
Usually, which is a good one, because like we said, we got in time now that con season's pretty much over with the pandemic, but right. that makes it so we're not, like you said there, crunch time, constant crunch. Do a little bit here and there in your spare time, so you're not overwhelmed and trying to put it together at the last minute.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then props kind of go in with the whole concept and scope and everything else. What other things are you going to add? And we love adding props. I think the very first thing I built for all of our cosplays was 4 years ago, was Delphia's Harley Quinn mallet. And it was a big, huge mallet. And that was the very first thing I started on. And that kind of, as I was building that, it gave me ideas for more of her costume. We wanted to put kind of an armored look to her.
I love the props, man, and you guys utilize them very well, especially with the sphere, the staff right there you see in your picture there. Right. I think they really just like put the exclamation point on your cosplay. They're just that added little, you know,
and like
touch.
This is hang on, I have to stop sharing for a second. For my Black Manta.
Yeah,
when I first
that was another great cosplay that you did.
When I first did my Black Manta, I had a huge weapon, like a big. It's in some of my older pictures, but it was way too big. I was like, I see all these, you know, characters out there with huge swords and big shields,
berserker swords and stuff.
We made her Harley Quinn hammer huge. So I wanted a big weapon too, but it was too big. It lit up. It was kind of cool, but it was too bulky. I couldn't, you know, I had to put it down every time I wanted to do something. And the logistics of having big props can be kind of irritating.
No, it was just too bulky. Was it heavy too? It was just too hard to get through the crowds.
So I used insulation foam. You can get this from Lowe's in big sheets, and I glued three or four layers of this together, and then I carved the weapon out of it. And it was so
it was more just a problem getting it through the crowds and just a pain to carry around all day.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm going to make that weapon next time. I'm going to upgrade my Black Manta, and I made this to stick on my arm. So it has a strap, you know, and it has, this is a little battery pack in there.
Okay.
So when you turn it on, The lights come on inside.
Yeah, those are those nice touches, those little details that just make it pop.
Exactly. And so the weapon is here. It was kind of inspired by the movie version of Black Manta. Even though the initial build, the first year wasn't, it was kind of from an image I found online. But then
I was actually surprised how well the movie version turned out, because I'm used to seeing him in the comics or in cartoons, and it was really pretty good to see it on the screen.
Yeah. So, it's when you look up close, it's not amazing, but you get some painting detail and some like battle damage. You just add those things.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get into that with the helmet.
And then the type of foam is just the cheapest type, which is floor mats.
Gotcha.
You can see the texture on the backside.
Yeah, like those floor mats are like for gyms or shops.
Exactly.
I picked up like a 5 or 10 pack over at Kmart or other, Walmart, stuff like that.
That's what I would suggest. I think you can get like a pack of 6 for $30 maybe.
Yeah, relatively cheap.
And that will probably do you for an entire Mandalorian build. Easily.
Nice. We got 2 more up in here, Discovery Bay and Perry. Welcome, guys.
Awesome. Hey, guys. JB, Perry, what you guys up to? The big start of a big Saturday night. So yeah, anyway, the floor mats is the way to go to start. It's keeps your budget low. It's pretty easy to work with. It's really light. But this particular build has, it has the floor mat foam, and then there's a layer. Everything's backwards. This is not another piece of foam that's like 3 millimeter. Then where the lights are, there's a type of foam that you can't quite see through it, but it lets light through.
A little translucent.
It's kind of like translucent foam.
So that's actually 3 different layers of foam there?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then see this texture? This is just this foam, but using the texture to my advantage.
Gotcha. You use the other side of it and flipped it upside down and use that.
Exactly. And you'll see a lot of builds like people who build Halo suits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They'll utilize that texture, especially in a military style spacesuit. It looks good.
And I like the battle damage you got on there, the distress. That's going to be something to add on to my helmet later on when we start putting it together.
Right. And painting is a skill in itself. This is awful. Like, I got a lot to learn when it comes to painting, but I think everyone does.
Yeah. There's just some of that stuff, especially with the distress. From what I've said, they're like sometimes you want awful, sometimes you want messy, so it actually adds to that battle damage.
Right. And the battle damage, especially for Mandalorian armor, there's some tricks that I can tell you that will help you make it look even more like authentic. Like it looks metallic.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Hold off on those though. We don't want to we got to have other episodes, man. We can't just let everything go tonight.
So I got a lot to learn on. I mean, this is a couple of years old, but my painting is getting better. But you can use spray paint, acrylic paint, or anything really.
And I have a little bit of skills when it comes to painting. I don't paint too much with my profession, but I have made a couple of things to where I have gotten used to painting and distressing, patina, I guess you could say. Distressing is the actual beat up parts of it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm actually going to show you a couple of things. Let me just let this dog out real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
Archer, you want to go out? Come on.
So for Perry and Discovery Bay, our 2 cosplays that we're going to start doing, I'm going to do a Mandalorian helmet mashed up with Mr. Miracle, and Kachung is going to be doing Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Yes. I know there's a few people that like Dr. Fate. JD, JD, he's done some cosplay. I think we should have JD.
Oh, yeah. I remember his famous Paste Pop Pete last year.
Yeah, right. So let's see. So we've shown the foam. This is just a piece of that foam.
Uh-huh.
You can get tons of it, pretty cheap. This is the other foam I use. It's a high density foam, and this is 10 millimeter. The floor mats are generally about ½ inch, so about 12 millimeter. And this is 10 millimeter. You can get it in 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some guys use the 1 millimeter foam, and they have some kind of a vacuum former.
Really?
So they'll make a cast out of clay or whatever, and they'll vacuum form foam. Usually you do it with plastic. You heat it up, and then you vacuum form, like you suck the air out, and it molds it to whatever shape you want. I mean, people have done it with foam, and it looks actually pretty cool.
I haven't tried it yet, but with the CNC machine, I can make some injection moldings. I mean, I got to get the kit to inject with the plastic or foam or whatever you want to inject it with, but you can cut out molds. So if we need something, just let me know, man. We'll cut it out.
Yeah,
and ship it out to you guys.
There's a lot of tricks and techniques that I could learn from you as well. And it's your profession, right? You're a carpenter.
Yes, sir. Hello, Big Will. He has arrived. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Big Will. Discovery Bay is hanging out with his family in the backyard. That sounds nice.
Chilling and grilling.
Chilling and grilling. So, as far as foam's concerned, this is your best friend.
Oh yeah, the heat guns.
It's a heat gun. They're about $20, I think. I got this one for a one-time. A lot of this stuff's one-time purchase, but it'll just last you forever. And
tell them be careful with those things. They get hot.
They get hot. And actually, when you are heat forming, this is something I really wanted to shout out to everybody. I know we probably have these during COVID times, but this stuff with the organic filter will filter out if you're heating up foam, if you're soldering foam, like if you're carving details out of it, you get the fumes. This is invaluable. You need protect your lungs. And
yes, sir.
The glue that you use for foam is one of the best ones. It's a contact cement. I use Barge. There's other contact cements out there, but you just kind of wipe it on, real thin layer on the two pieces you want to glue together.
Yep.
You let it sit for a little bit on the two pieces independently, and then you bring them together when they're dry, right? When they're dry, yeah. You leave it about 5-10 minutes.
I actually use a type of contact cement to laminate my countertops if someone goes that route instead of doing granite. So yeah, I'm used to it, but I spray it on through an aerosol gun.
Yeah, it has toluene in it, very poisonous. You can use super glue. A lot of people use I like to use this contact cement. Not contact cement, super glue. Where we go?
What about a rubber cement?
Here we go, Loctite gel. A rubber cement you can use, yeah.
Or like I see Gorilla Glue. The commercials about Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Glue, I've tried. It expands.
Yep, that's what I was just gonna say. It foams up and expands, so you think you need to use a lot, and it actually could push your stuff apart.
Exactly, and then you like, dang it. So this is good in a pinch, instant. You don't have to wait around. It's not poisonous, so you don't have to wear that. And I'm
sure some things are better than others. Like sometimes the super glue dries hard and brittle, so that if you need something to move, maybe super glue isn't the right form for you. Maybe a silicone or something might be better.
Well, and even the contact cement is quite malleable.
Yep.
When you're putting pieces together on an armor build and there's some movement involved, this won't peel apart too easily, and it'll kind of flex a little bit. Those kind of things you got to consider also when you're painting. Some paints, and there's a lot of info out there on which paints flex and which don't. Most of them don't, especially spray paint. It'll crack the first time you try and bend it. But those kind of things you learn with time. But hopefully we can share some tips that'll save some people some money and time as well. This is the hot glue gun. Also,
Oh,
you don't need a mask to use it. We've used all the different hot glue that you have out there. And when you're at a con and it's hot and you're wandering around and you're moving around and you're creating extra body heat, hot glue can melt.
yep.
So you see people in cosplays that they've used hot glue and their pieces start falling off them.
But that's another one. But since you we moved on to that one. Another gun you got to be careful with. And I'm not even saying also why you use it, but especially that heat gun. I've used a heat gun for my job plenty of times. And when you set it down, I've accidentally bumped it with the back of my hand and it ripped off the skin because it sears to your, it's rough. Or you can start a little fire too because the metal part of the head of it starts getting too hot. You set it down on a wood table or something, and so you got to be careful with some of those.
We generally just use foam, kind of just to lay it on.
Yep.
If anything, it'll burn into it a little bit, but
yeah, a lot of the guns are got a fat enough side so you can lay it on its side and it keeps the barrel off the table or something. But you know, you're doing other things. You move your hand across the table, your hand nicks it. It's one of those things that gets so hot your skin sticks to it, and that's why.
You can see this is the inside of that. There's the straps, that I have, so you can keep it on your arm. That's black hot glue, and that's
they sell black hot melt glue?
This is the hot glue that we use now. It gets super hot, like it's molten, it's bubbling. Delphia has scars from this stuff.
Ooh, that's cool though. I only thought they had the clear tubes.
Yeah, so, and this holds like nothing I've ever seen as far as hot glue goes. And because it's high temperature, it won't melt, so your pieces won't come off or distort. Actually, the foam will rip before this
starts to detach
or melt or whatever. It won't ever melt and destroy, or, your pieces won't fall apart. So we found through experience that this is the hot glue to go towards.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, and I think it's just harder to find. There's less places to get it. But
yeah, I've never seen it because I do use hot melt glue in my production just for little things to tack up or hold it someplace quick.
Yeah, it's super, super strong. This is another invaluable tool I use on every build, a Dremel. And safety. Well, glasses, of course, but this is just a particulate mask that I guess people are wearing these at the moment to keep COVID out. I don't know if that's.
I am horrible at wearing a mask while I'm working, so I am planning on getting more when I do certain things with a lot of dust or foul smells, like some of that adhesive. That's when I usually put it on.
So this, this won't keep out the fumes from the barge cement or from, heating the foam, but it'll keep the dust out. Because when you shape the foam, and sometimes you need to, make an edge beveled, round it off. When you use this high density foam, it shapes a lot better than the floor mats. The floor mats will, they'll shape pretty well and you'll get some good edges, round edges. And I like to use this bit. Where is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a more rounded. And I have some other ones for flat edges. These bits, just thin, straight Dremel bits. And that I use those for more flat, if I have to make it nice and flat to glue two pieces together.
So far, I'm set. I have all of the tools you've recommended.
That's awesome. You mentioned seams earlier. When you put two pieces of foam together, you glue them together, it's not always going to be perfect. And you'll Dremel off maybe a high. If the two pieces don't come together, you'll Dremel off the high piece. But sometimes the glue may come apart slightly, and you may not want to redo the pieces again to glue them together. I use this, just a quick seal
Yeah, DAP. Yeah, good product.
with a wet finger, and just get all the excess off. You can sand it when it's dry, and I typically sand um, foam, and when you prime it, you sand it. And there's people that they make a joke of it that you're sanding until you die with this.
Yep. Especially if you want a nice clean paint job, man. I tell people when I do paint small material for people, you don't understand the monotonous time that it takes to paint something with a good quality paint job. It's sand, clean, sand, spray. It's repetitive.
It is. And I know a lot of people, when they make the Mandalorian helmets, they use 3D printers now.
Really?
And they're 3D printing, sections of a helmet, glue them together. But, even that you got to sand the crap out of. But even if you use an epoxy resin or some kind of casting to make the helmet, it's sand.
That's what I was going to suggest. When I looked it up, they had this like gray epoxy resin to fill in all cracks and seams, and they're like, they said get it everywhere because you want it to seal up everything. But I understand from doing stuff like that profession that you don't want it building up. You need to like kind of make smooth passes, because if not, you're going to be there for more hours sanding.
Exactly. And when you're making things like your helmet, I use this on something. It's just Bondo.
Yeah, the Bondo with the two-part of Bondo.
I believe this is just a one-part putty. Yeah, but
yeah, I use an auto putty sometimes, and it's got like a catalyst, a little additive you put to it, so you mix it together, and it already starts hardening right away.
Stronger, right, than this
yeah.
stuff. This I use. What did I use this on? I think I made the first year I did a Ranger from Fallout.
Okay.
On the helmet, I did something where I had to smooth it out and fill in a gap, and I didn't really like it that much. I ended up moving on to foam and other stuff. But with that, you got to use a mask again. Like the fumes are horrible on Bondo.
Well, because for me down here in the Florida Keys, there's a lot of humidity in the air. So some of that stuff, if it's not a two-parter, to harden it, it'll take multiple days, depending on how many layers you have to do or how much you have to put on to actually dry. I've had things non-cosplay related to where I let it sit for overnight, and it still wasn't dried enough for me to sand it the next day and paint it. I had to wait another couple days. And some of them don't even end up drying, and you have to just scrap it and start all over.
Oh, and when we're in con crunch, it's just, you only have a few days to go, and you got to think in your mind, okay, I need to prime this, and this is a good primer, Plasti Dip, which, again, you got to use the fume mask. Same with spray paint, but this is a good primer, and you got to do this, and then you got to let it dry. And then you maybe have to sand a little bit, and then you maybe have to prime it again.
Yeah, maybe add a little more, sand a little more.
And then you got to paint it. And sometimes you got to wait for that to dry. And then if you want it glossy, you got to add a vinyl finish on it. It's, that's when you get into a time crunch, possibly, when you're coming up to a con.
Oh, yeah, man. We tell people all the time, you got to sand it, prime it, sand it again, sometimes even add that second coat of primer. And in between each sanding, you're going higher and higher with your grits of sandpaper, so you get smoother and smoother finishes.
Right. And I think that's the key for a lot of these things that are supposed to look metallic. You get it as smooth as you can, and then you can use some, black undercoat, and then some shiny metallic paint, even acrylic. But if it's smooth, it makes it look that much better.
You'll see it too. If it's not smooth and you put that colored paint on there, it'll start looking like an orange peel or something. And sometimes that could be good for your build, but a lot of times, like you said, for the helmets, you want that smooth shine to it, that smooth gloss to it. And sometimes you don't want gloss. You could do a satin finish instead of a gloss finish. It just kind of still seals everything in for you.
Right. I wonder if I can, let's see if I can share this again.
Joey Bags, what's up, buddy?
here. So we talked about some materials to use, some of the tools, and then in future episodes, I think we'll go into more specifics with patterns. You can see on the top right, there's a that's the pattern I used for my Moon Knight mask. Tons of pieces, stick them all together. I ended up using some foam clay as well. But, you know, when you use a pattern, you put it on foam, you know, you can use reference lines and put the two pieces together. But you really using, when you're using foam, wait, where am I? You use your heat gun so that you can heat form the foam, and you can round it.
Makes it more pliable. Put it around a mold maybe, or something round to help it take the shape.
Yeah, some people just kind of there's all sorts of different techniques, but yeah, I mean, essentially that's what you're doing. And if you maybe were to do two halves of your helmet, which is what I'm thinking of doing, as opposed, some people would do 4 pieces to a helmet, but you could do 2 pieces. Then you just have the one seam going down the middle.
Yeah.
And as far as the Mandalorian goes, and I've looked at the Dr. Fate helmet, you can cover the seams up with something else on the helmet.
There's actually like another added piece that's on the Mando helmet that comes down. It could help hold those seams together.
So kind of a trick for cosplay is hide the seams. And if you can hide the seams, you don't have to fill the seams. And you have that extra element, like with the Mandalorian helmet. I think there's a piece of metal.
Yep.
It goes up the middle, and you can just hide it perfectly with another piece of the helmet.
Yep.
But then
for forming, you said about the forming, there's other things you can do. I noticed that some of the guys, I think they called it a mushroom, where they have like they heat it up, and it's just like just sits there like this, and you run your materials over it to kind of help form it and help fit it. You heat it up, and you can help put some concave to it.
Right. Yeah, and it'll stay like that. The other good thing, and I think it's important, is when you when you use your hot gun, your heat gun on the foam. Foam is it's got cells in it, kind of like bubbles that are open. And if you were to paint this by itself without running a heat gun on it, the foam will soak up that paint, and it'll just keep soaking it up, even the prime. So when you heat it, you actually go over the surface, all over it, and it will seal it. It'll create a seal so that you really don't have to do too many layers of priming and painting.
I deal with that with wood. It's porous, so a lot of times that first coat of sealer will just suck it all in, and it looks like you didn't even do anything.
Exactly. So that was the word I was looking for, porous. Yeah. It just eats your material up.
You just keep spraying, and you're like, what's going on? So a lot of those times you'll end up clearing it first, maybe, or adding some of the resin or epoxies or
right. And so with my black Manta helmet, I ended up, even with this foam, this insulation foam, it's porous too. And after I'd sanded it and made it the shape I wanted, I had to seal this as well, and I couldn't heat seal it because it melts this stuff. And so I ended up using your stuff, wood glue.
Nice.
And just painted coats of that. And then I went even further and used this stuff's more advanced. It's called Epsilon Pro. It's a 2-part epoxy. This is part A. There's a part B, and you mix them, and you have about 20 minutes to work with, because it starts heating up and then it starts setting. Curing, I think, is the word.
Yep.
So you paint that over the surface, and it kind of self-levels, and it's essentially plastic. So you can put this on foam. Once you've heat formed your foam, you can seal it with this stuff, and it essentially creates a plastic coating. If you want to do it, I would honestly maybe suggest that for your helmet.
Yeah, I like that, because a lot of people were saying like the foam is the way to go. One, because it's softer inside your head. You're not having this hard plastic or metal thing just banging around.
Exactly.
And so you build it from there, and then with that stuff, it hardens on the outside and allows you to sand and shape it,
right,
and paint it better.
What you want to avoid when you use this is any piece of armor that might flex or need flexing when you're moving around. With a helmet, it's not flexing, it's just on your head.
Yep.
So this stuff's probably perfect to coat it with, and this paints well. Like once you put this on, you seal, you do a couple of coats, you can sand it really smooth and then paint it like it's plastic.
Perfect.
You get into your tips on weathering your painting. It's like a real Mandalorian has been through 4 wars,
Yeah. Put some gouge marks in the armor or in the helmet, but add some patina to it. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Let me share my screen again real quick. This I should probably.
Don't give away all of our episodes just yet.
Well, these are just all, bullet points. You're basically you're creating patterns, you're figuring out your materials, you got to cut it right, you have to glue it right. We talked about heat forming, and the heat seals it in most cases. Filling your gaps with the quick seal, priming, painting, they're essentially your main steps to cosplay. And what I did want to talk about these just briefly. We can go over them in other.
Yeah. Let's do it. Comfort. That's what I wanted, for my build. Is I needed comfortable, feasible, pragmatic, so I'm not running around a con bumping into people. And like you said, you want to be comfortable, because at the end of the day, you want to wear it the whole time. Because if not, if you feel like you want to take it off halfway through the con, then what was the point of building it in the first place?
Right. And that's the main thing people in the cosplay community talk about, is just be comfortable, wear good shoes, make them as close to the, your costume or cosplay as you can, but make sure they're comfortable. I know Delphia sometimes has some really cool, high heels or whatever that she does.
I was going to say that those don't look too comfortable.
But what she does is she'll get like a matching pair of flats that you can fold into a small package, and I'll just put them in a little hidden pocket somewhere in my costume. And so when we move around, she'll wear those just for comfort, and then
for when pictures and stuff and hanging out, she'll put the others
on the shoes she wants for the costume. Visibility, as in these are just kind of the big ideas that you really should consider. Can you see out of it? It's very important. My Laughley's was just horrible to see out of. And then can you move in it? You got to consider all your movement, attaching pieces of armor to you. How are you going to attach them? What are you going to use? Are you going to use lights? And then later down the track, we can talk about other things like epoxy. Maybe you'll use it for your helmet. Things like foam clay and resin. And Wobbler is, I'll just show you real quick. Let me stop sharing there. Wobbler is, what do they call it? It's a plastic, but you can heat form it. So you can basically run a heat gun over this for a couple of minutes and roll this into a bowl and use it like clay.
Oh, okay.
And you can mold it and sculpt it relatively easily, I guess. But it's really cool. People that make like World of Warcraft kind of costumes, and they do all the detail on the chests.
Yeah, the pieces that go on top of the breastplates,
like the pinwheel kind of accentuations to the armor, and the bevels and things. They'll just mold this stuff into little like snakes and mold it into the shape they want. But then it's rigid, you know, it turns back into plastic. And then this stuff is the same, but it's clear.
Okay.
It's a transparent wobbler. And you obviously use this for lighting. And if you use it in swords and things, people use this to kind of cover up panels with lights behind them, and then add lighting. But I haven't really used this much. Whenever I need like a glass, what's supposed to look like glass with lights behind it, I'll use these from Hobby Lobby. Just like
Okay, yeah.
Like Delphia's mannequin. Not her staff.
The sphere
was just a big version of this with lights inside it. I basically took sandpaper and sandpapered the inside to make it
rough,
and so you couldn't quite see through it. Because if you can see the electronics and the lighting in there, it's kind of stupid.
Oh, you literally just put it in there instead of like, I thought you were getting at you scuffed it up to paint it.
You know, you scuff up the inside to kind of diffuse the light.
Gotcha.
So you don't quite see, oh, look, there's a light bulb in there.
Yeah.
Like there's, you can get these for like $5 on, I cut this, but essentially,
yeah,
a long string of fairy lights like this. There's like, I think there's 20 lights in there, all the different colors. And so I use these for putting inside props, and I'll just, you know, wind them up so I have like 10 little lights together inside, put it inside whatever I'm lighting up, and then make sure that this battery pack is accessible. You can get the batteries in and out and change them if you need to.
Yeah, because you don't need to be tearing your whole costume apart just to change some AA batteries.
Right. And if you want to go mega lights, you can get these.
Yeah, the strips.
And then find somewhere on your costume to hold one of these. I did this with my black Manta.
Yeah, if you can mount those things, a lot of those have apps that you can control with your phone. So you know you're going to have your phone with you. It makes it a lot easier. You can change the colors, the way they flash, all sorts of things.
I haven't got into like the programming aspect. I'd really love to.
My buddy got those for his kitchen cabinets, for underneath the cabinets, and he just does it all from his phone with the app.
Yeah. If you can get, these are just specific color. We have a bunch of reels depending on the color. But if you can make them multicolor, and then just have your app, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah, some of them even have parts to them to where you can they'll blink or flash to the music, to the beats of the music.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you're just walking around the Comic-Con with like some DJ playing or something, and next thing you know, your staff's going strobing with it. That's cool. That's
like next level.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think we're over an hour now, so maybe we should start wrapping this up.
Yeah, man, I had a blast talking this over, and like I said multiple times this evening, I cannot wait to get started. Hopefully next episode we can go over maybe purchasing material and or finding these patterns, maybe share some screens and show where we're finding this or finding tips, and then maybe who knows, maybe even purchase it and start building here soon.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think you'll be spending too much on a pattern and foam and.
No, like I said, I got the pattern for free, and I have most of the tools and adhesives. So really, I just got to find the foam and buy the foam and get that shipped out, and I think we can kind of get going on that.
Yeah, I think my Dr. Fate probably doesn't have a pattern out there, so I'm just gonna free form it, freehand it.
I'll look for one too while I'm looking around.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know, like there's so many different versions of him and the way his helmet's formed. I think from what I've created so far, I have kind of an idea on how I can do it. So yeah, I think I should be able to figure it out, and maybe a couple of mistakes, and a little bit of used foam to figure it out properly, but I think it should be
trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. Exactly. Well, it's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks for
Thanks,
including me. I'm looking forward to how things start to turn out. And thanks everyone in the chats that joined us.
I absolutely appreciate everyone that's been here, that's been in and out, and anyone who watches it on the replay. There's some good tips in there on those slides, especially. Write some notes. If you're interested in jumping on board with us and creating something, let us know.
Yeah, start brainstorming, and who knows, maybe in the next couple episodes you can hop on and start going to town.
We can have, 2 or 3 or 4 people, Brady Bunch, talking about cosplaying our cosplays and all the problems we've been having.
Right.
But it's figuring out those problems that makes you better at it and makes the build, more exciting and
hands-on experience, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, thanks, Bake, for coming along.
Yeah, thanks for including me, and I'm looking forward to our next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Y'all have a good one. We'll see you around.
Maybe see you next week.